You're listening to eCommerce Fastlane, the podcast show to help you build, manage, grow, and scale a successful and thriving company, powered by Shopify. Listen to real conversations with partners and subject matter experts as they share proven practical strategies, platforms, and the best Shopify apps to help you accelerate your business. The time is now for you to improve efficiencies, grow revenue, profit, and lifetime customer loyalty. Please welcome your host, startup founder and strategic advisor, Steve Hutt.
Welcome to another episode of eCommerce Fastlane. I am your host, Steve Hutt, and I honestly couldn't be more excited. I know I say it a lot, but this one I'm very particularly interested in because my guest is Mo Afshar. And he's the CEO and co-founder of a company called Pipe17, and they're at pipe17.com. Their company, they really are transforming about how brands handle their operations. It's very, very complex right now in both commerce, I'm going to call it, so that's bricks and mortar and retail, online, everywhere in between, like a full omni-channel. The landscape is very, very complicated. Shopify maybe is a reasonable starting point, and it does run a lot of the operational side of a business. But as businesses begin to scale, there can be a lot of challenges. And I think that's one of the things that Mo is working on right now. Very clear mission. I kind of creeped on his LinkedIn profile and was looking at the website and stuff. They really are there to solve a lot of these headaches that literally keep e-commerce brands up at night. They've been very, very successful. They've secured a very significant funding round. So it clearly shows that the industry, the venture capital world is seeing that they're building something of impact that's really helpful and solving some great problems. They even recently earned I'd call it very prestigious kind of best enterprise TikTok shop integration solution. This award really shows they have a lot of innovation both in social commerce. So it's really exciting. I want to dig into the brands that have chosen to use their solution, like the big brands like Manscaped and Hotel Chocolate, Death Wish Coffee. And there's a whole list. I was kind of, once again, your resources. There's a lot of stuff going on here. It's really interesting. We're going to solve and answer some really great questions about if Shopify is a good starting point for your business, when is the right time and what are the right mindset around why Pipe17 might be a great opportunity for your business as you continue to scale. So, hi Mo, welcome to eCommerce Fastlane.
Great to be here. I'm an avid listener to your podcast. And now that Black Friday, Cyber Monday is behind us, we can all breathe and talk in a relaxed manner.
I know. It's been wild. It's been really wild. You know, it's funny. Being in a media company, I had the opposite effect of traffic, which was so interesting. And it's like I get behind the psychology of who my readers are and listeners of the podcast, because usually I have significant traffic on the website most times. But it was so funny during Cyber Monday, the traffic massively plummeted because people that were necessarily at work, they might have been at work, but they were probably shopping online and not looking for the latest strategies and tactics and kind of just, intel on, e-commerce and Shopify related things. So the traffic went right down. I Googled it and like, oh, no, this is normal for media companies. People are shopping. They're pretending they're at work, but they're actually shopping today. And then next day, Tuesday, boom, traffic went back up again. So yeah, great to have you here, by the way. Thank you.
Great to be there. Thank you.
So I want to kick things off a bit about, first of all, the inspiration behind Pipe17. I tried to understand myself, like why Pipe17? What is like the name, where did it come from? And then just talk a bit about the platform, this omni-channel order operations platform. Let me learn more about it.
Yeah, of course. So let me kind of give you some background. I'm always interested in kind of the why.
Yeah.
Why people do things. So I spent my entire career in B2B software, commerce and other horizontal areas, big company, small company. And after starting my last startup, which was in the AI space a while back, spent a year on the investor side, focused on commerce and did some great investments. One of them was an early investment in a company called Deliver, which of course we know Shopify acquired and later divested.
Right.
And it was really interesting to me, all the innovation that was going on the selling channel side with obviously Shopify, up and coming and now established in all segments of the market and then marketplaces. And I kind of asked myself as a simple question, which is all these vendors, Shopify for sure, are making it super easy for people to sell. Who is making it easy to optimize operations? Because we know operations is hard and every business that is hard, requires great operations. And if there's a big company and many, many big companies who are worth multiple billions of dollars, enabling people to sell, there has to be somebody that's making it easy for people to run their operations. And this was one of those moments where we're like looking around, trying to find, a company that did this, and asked to, spoke to a whole bunch of brands. We asked a simple question: how do you run your operations? And the answers were entirely inconsistent, as I love to say, which is some of them run it on Shopify, some of it running on spreadsheets, some of it run it on various apps, some of it run it on ERPs, some of them think operations is what the 3PL does, some of it build it themselves. Right. And we're like, this inconsistency in answers means that there's no great solution out there. So we have to go and build one. So that was kind of like a little bit of the thinking. And of course, fast forward today, Shopify is an amazing platform. It's got huge momentum, and we'll talk more about this, but there is a stage at which brands need to think about their operations and how they could weave together the plethora of systems that they get, whether it's ERPs and 3PLs and marketplaces and returns and wholesale and EDI and all these things. And that's kind of where Pipe17 is happy to connect and enable you to build your future with Shopify at its core, and Pipe17 enabling everything to work together. On the name, because you did ask about the name.
I got to know the name. Yes.
You got to know the name. So, of course, names are hard these days, right? So the domain's got to be available and stuff. But on a serious point, Pipe is pretty simple, because at the core of what we do is we unify your operations. And we do that by connecting everything that's there. So all of your systems connect and working in harmony. So Pipes connect. So that one's pretty easy, of course. Correct. The 17 is a little bit of a head scratcher, as people tell me, but Area 17 is in the brain, and it's the Bodman mapping in the brain, is the visual cortex. So it's the pipe that helps you to see what's going on in your business. So we thought that's a good way to make a name that's memorable.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. See, that's a good story to tell. I had no idea. I even went to Perplexity and I said, okay, come on, you got to help me figure out how do they come up with this name? And they go, well, the search results don't provide any information about the origin or the meaning behind Pipe17's company name. All we know is it was founded in 2019 by Mo and Dave. This is good. Okay, so basically, I guess on a high level, I would agree with you that what a lot of brands have is they have Shopify kind of as their quote unquote retail operating system. There it is, plunk it down it goes. And it's a source of truth for a lot of things. But I think as businesses scale, Shopify is not great at certain things. They choose to not play in the mid to higher markets, at least from an operational perspective. So brands, and I've managed many of them, even when I was in Shopify, where, if it was an ERP or if it was a CRM, or if it was, as you said, returns management, or a lot of other inventory solutions, OMS, EMS, IMS. I mean, there's all these different things that are going on, depending on how you're connected to 3PLs and all that. Yeah. The challenge is that people have to make decisions on either getting an app or having a private app injected into their like solution, and then having a separate kind of API calls to all of that. It turns out to be that in itself is an operational cluster, because every time I get a new account, the first thing I do is I go to their app section. I go, okay, you have 47 apps running right now. Can you explain to me from top to bottom why you chose all of these? And I want to understand the use case behind them all. And a lot of times, I'm sure you found this too, a lot of times people say, that is a really good question. I have no idea why we have that app for $499 a month, or we're not using it anymore, or that marketer left, or we have a new 3PL now that should have been long gone. And there's so many like efficient, just from a financial perspective, I clean things up and people are saving thousands of dollars a month on things they're not even using. Is one problem. And number two, the other thing is that you ever thought about the speed issues of adding multiple apps, and are they talking to each other? Is there any kind of overall performance issues of all of these things running versus maybe the way you're looking at it? So I just want to have your feedback about, is my mind right here that this is how some people look at their businesses and they have all these apps and all these different things, but no one really understands the continuity between them all?
Yeah, I think that's a great way to think about it. Maybe add some color to it. Look, I mean, it's not as if most of us don't have like 500 apps on our phone, of which we probably use 20 of them, right?
Yeah, fair enough.
So most brands out there, merchants at the end of the day, have a very similar setup. I think the bigger question really boils down to this, which is, of course, there's a lot of things you can do to clean up your phone, or in that case, your app store and how you do business. But there is kind of one fundamental thing that at some stage, technology and the whole app store model kind of becomes a little bit of an impediment to your growth, whether you're doing 10 million or 5,000 orders a month or whatever way you look at it. There is some stage, and those stages are where you're trying to open up new markets. You want to sell on new marketplaces, Amazon, for example, and others. You might want to sell on Temu, maybe, or Shein or others. Or you want to do things like add an ERP because you're growing and your CFO wants better financial controls and visibility. Or you want to add additional 3PLs. And at some stage, these changes ultimately break the model, which is it's very complex to try to get an ERP integrated into Shopify and then use Shopify as an operational system. It's much easier to keep Shopify as a system of record if that's what you want to do, but get the data to flow between all these other systems outside the App Store. Because the App Store is not really designed to flow your order data into multiple 3PLs and route all of the orders in the right way based on cost and geography and various other things. And then plug in, the financials of your returns so you can figure out how much stock you have that's left based on how many returns people do and all these things. So at some stage, I think what really starts to happen is brands kind of look back and say, the next change we introduce is going to break the model. Might be adding an ERP, might be adding TikTok Shop, might be adding SEO 3PL. And then they go into this thing of how do we make it work? Because it's really hard to make it work in the App Store. And the answer is you need to move from an App Store centric view of the world to a brand centric view of the world. And that's ultimately what we deliver with our unified operations, which is we deliver you a brand centric view of your business. And that's what you're going to build the future of your business on.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're able to kind of keep data kind of synchronized across all channels. That's kind of what your operational command center is, so to speak. And I see. Okay. This is really interesting because I agree with you. Like just a lot of times, hey, like the going joke, hey, there's an app for that. And that's, unfortunately, that's the reality of a lot of people. And I think as business, get more mature, a little bit more complex in the sweet spot that you're kind of talking about. And, and this is people in the Shopify Plus era where they've, they're doing, upwards of $5, maybe $10 million in revenue. And they're like, okay, well, how do we get to 15 to 20 to 50 million? Well, you're not doing what you're currently doing. That's the first thing. And improving some efficiencies. And that's kind of where you fit. I love that fact of how you, now it's getting more clear in my brain. So I want to talk, you just made a comment there a second ago about TikTok and I mentioned at the top of the show about you winning this kind of TikTok Shop Enterprise Integration Award. Can you talk a bit about this? Because I know of many brands that a lot of their revenue, it's an extremely hot channel, Gen Z and millennial buyers, and then Shopify has its own quote unquote connection to and kind of how they're doing it. And so I just want to understand, first of all, congrats to the award and let's talk about that connection and why it's unique.
Yeah, of course. So first thing I'll say is we also won an award for Amazon for Supply Chain Tech Partner of the Year. So it's not just TikTok Shop. We're famous all over.
All right, you're winning.
We like to help our brands win. So TikTok Shop. So look, I think the big picture in our view is that every brand needs to meet consumers where they are. And we're big believers that entertainment and discretional commerce at the very minimum are merging into the same thing. We're also of the view that platforms like TikTok Shop understand people way better than Google does. And I think better than Amazon does in terms of what they would like to buy and purchase. I think, specifically as it relates to this particular award, it's really the recognition of the fact that if you're a leading brand, typically doing, thousands of orders above, or you're an established brand. So think you're the Unilever and you have a bunch of brands, and Unilever is one of our customers, or any other very, very large company that has brands, and you want to sell on TikTok Shop, you have your own operational system. Because remember, you have a brand-centric view of the world. You don't have a, App Store view of the world. And so you need the data and your product catalog, your order data, the return data. You need very high fidelity data to be available to you at a touch, right? And generally what customers come to us for, which is, why TikTok gave us this award, and it refers a lot of the larger customers to us, is because of the fact that these customers expect very high fidelity data on the purchase and returns and the customer, and they want to pipe that high fidelity data into their own operational system first, right? They want to feed that data into whatever setup they have in their operations. right? And
Mhm.
for that reason, many of the brands who may initially start their journey on TikTok Shop, as you said, by feeding the orders from TikTok to Shopify, which is great. They come to Pipe17 and say, hey, we actually want to feed these into our own operational system. And of course, Pipe17 can put all the data back into Shopify so that Shopify has a consistent record of it.
Right.
And I think that's kind of, again, this realization that like having plugging in an app on an app store to feed your TikTok orders into Shopify, it works for you until it doesn't, right? And then it doesn't because your finance people can't reconcile the data. You don't know whom you gave discounts to. You don't know the volume of the discounts. You can't figure out the margin. Right. And then you say, okay, I need to actually change how things work. So I think,
imagine the influencer side too. Like, you're trying to pay influencers through this whole thing. And is it, are you paying a commission to them? Is it a flat rate? Are you owning their channel for a while? And it just gets wild.
Yeah, it's absolutely wild. So for that reason, I think, for us, we're obviously very excited about social commerce and in fact other things. But the main thing is every brand needs to meet, consumers where they are. And social commerce is the area where a lot of people are, and it's an opportunity. And if you make headway, like many of the brands that are on Pipe17, you see huge growth. And I think everybody wants to see that because they love to help our brands grow and be successful.
So I want to talk about so that's the TikTok side. You made the comment about the Amazon side. I just want to talk a little bit about this how to optimize operationally now across multiple channels, because that seems to be, even internationalization is another whole crazy topic too. And so I would love to hear your mindset and kind of how Pipe17 is helping brands from this omni-channel or multi-channel kind of even an international commerce. Like how are you facilitating what great looks like from an execution perspective?
That's a great question. So generally, as we mentioned earlier, we work with, brands for some level of scale, whether it's thousands of orders a month or 10, plus million in GMV. And you've successfully built your business, you run it on the back of the App Store, and Shopify is your platform and it works great, which it does. But you also have a ton of people in operations with spreadsheets.
Oh yeah.
And you have a ton of people in CS. And then you reach this eureka moment where I need to add additional selling channels. I'm going to do business with Nordstrom. I'm going to do business with Walmart. I'm not really happy shipping from New Jersey because customers get their stuff 5 days later. So I want to be able to set up a warehouse in Reno. And then, by the way, I just got a finance guy who was telling me I need better controls, but buying an ERP means that I have to now connect that ERP to everything.
Yeah.
And things like I want a single view of inventory to sell from because I don't want one pool for wholesale and one pool, for direct to consumer. So there are all these kind of areas where customers start doing things. And when they start doing these things, they kind of get stuck. And so they say, oh, no problem. We're going to do this with spreadsheets, which a lot of people do. Or we're going to do it with, hire some developers to make this brand centric view of the world work. And that's kind of really the question that, most brands ask. And whether you want to build it or whether you want to run it on your spreadsheets, that's fine. It's not a problem. But our approach is very different. We're there for you when you want to make those, what may look like minor changes, but they have big downstream implications for your business. We're there to connect your systems. So when you buy an ERP like NetSuite or SAP, we can make sure your data flows from Shopify all the way through to the ERP, as well as orders from other marketplaces and retailers. And then if you want to plug in your point of sale and you want to make sure NetSuite's got consistent data across the board, we can help you do that. And we can do that in a platform that doesn't require you to hire any developers, which is really, really unique.
Right.
And saves people time and money. And, everybody loves that. The CEOs love it because it helps them be agile. The ops people love it because they don't have to hire endless ops people and run their business on spreadsheets. And you spend less money on operations, whether it's inventory or people or just, also being able to sell more, which everybody loves.
Yeah. That's amazing. So what about AI? It's obviously the hottest topic. It's just it just seems to be going into every part of a brand's operation, if it's customer service, if it's inventory forecasting. There's a whole laundry list of things, even like content production. I just got off the recording with Postscript and they've launched an AI tool to do true one-on-one kind of personalization at scale through SMS. And so interesting. So what role does AI play in Pipe17? And how do you, is this a now? Is it actually working now? And then kind of where do you see the future of this kind of technology?
That's a great question. So I'm going to do a shameless plug. So we have this webinar series,
Good.
which is AI in commerce. And there's actually one, depending on when this podcast goes out, but there's one on the 11th where we have some thought leaders. We have Farhan, who's a VP of engineering at Shopify, Rob Gash from Hearst, Jason from Retail. So we have a bunch of people who are like going to talk about this impact of AI within commerce. But the bigger question, I think, is really around kind of like, what is the industry doing? And I think the first thing I want to point out is I think we see AI as a fundamental shift in how people buy and how brands sell. And let me kind of elaborate a little bit on this, which is, imagine you're trying to buy a new fridge. You go into ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity or whatever you like to use, and you just ask the question, what are the top 5 fridges that have French doors? And then you say, well, which one has the best reviews? And then which one has the best service? And your entire buying experience might end up being powered through AI as a new interface. And this has a whole bunch of downstream implications for people like Google and then your own website and etc. So I think we see AI as a very fundamental change in the same way that mobile ended up being a fundamental change. Now, AI will change the way people buy, and we talked about that, but it will also change the way people sell. And, you may end up getting orders from ChatGPT. They may be piped into your Shopify store. They may not, but there may be somebody sitting on the back of it. And so I think there's a fundamental thinking that everybody needs to do. But as it relates to operations, I think, which was your question, which is what is Pipe17 doing? Look, we want to make it easy for you to build and grow your business in the way that you want with the lowest cost possible. So if we kind of drill down on that, we want to be able to help you set up new selling channels instantly. We want to help you add additional 3PLs to fulfill from. We want to help you roll out your ERP in like days, not months or years, or if at all, in some cases. So everything that you need to do to run your operations, we want to make it simpler and we want to make it quicker and we want to deliver it to you at lower cost. And today, specifically what we're doing, you can set up new selling channels within Pipe17 using a chat-like interface. You can configure your order routing logic between multiple warehouses. The system monitors and kind of starts recommending things to you, like here's things you could do to save money. You can use, basically Pipe17 as a signal generator for the rest of your supply chain. And, our vision over time is to deliver this concept of a commerce operations teammate, which is effectively, imagine a piece of software or an agent that you as an ops person within the commerce world work with in order to help run your business better, right? And that's ultimately our goal, which is to deliver that killer combination of people and technology in order to deliver success.
Yeah, this is amazing. I'm looking to like on the site, and it's interesting that you definitely can connect to legacy systems for brands that feel that it's a little bit disjointed or old school EDI or whatever's going on, but you still have that kind of opportunity available. But I also love the fact that when you become a Pipe17 customer, there are already some baked in connectors from previous clients and customers that have decided to use the platform. And I'm looking right now on like all the notable marketplaces, and I'm looking at like point of sale systems. I'm looking at 3PLs and warehouse management and returns and ERP. There's you have a whole host of both front and back office kind of connectors that are already there that people are already using. So in lieu of an app, once again, comes back to the same premise again, that you are an operating system, you're of record in the middle that says, no, we're going to facilitate all of these connections and any new ones that you may need in the future.
Yeah, look, that's kind of exactly what we do. I mean, we help you unify your operations, which at the end of the day is inherently heterogeneous. I mean, no two 3PLs look the same, and the point of sale systems are all the same, except they're not. And the ERPs all do the same thing, except they don't. And you talk to them the same way, except you don't. So we help bring all of these things together. And I think the other important thing is, look, if you go in and you build, which a lot of people build their operational platforms themselves. We had some customers who literally had tens of developers who did this, and obviously they're bigger. But the reality of it is that at the end of the day, everybody's doing the same thing. And it doesn't make sense, because if you just entrust one person to do it, we can build the best SAP, NetSuite connector. We can build build the best Lightspeed connector. We can make sure Shopify POS works well. And once we plug it into our system, anything can talk to that. And that's the power of kind of the way we built our system. It's hub and spoke. Anybody that connects into our system is able to connect to everybody else. So everybody benefits from the links that are set up. And I think that's the killer thing, because as we have more and more customers that use more and more connectors, those connectors become more and more hardened. And over time, it's super easy for people to be able to make whatever switch they want, which is our vision, that you can make the changes in your business without technology being a barrier.
Right. It's interesting too, because I know that Shopify has been really pushing this, that they know for a fact that the B2B marketplace, just B2B in general as commerce, is a significantly larger than the regular direct-to-consumer channel. And so knowing that, like, is the same opportunity available in Pipe17, where if a brand's looking to expand into a wholesale business, is there a way to use Pipe17 to help facilitate that from inventory syncing and these sorts of things?
Yeah. So B2B is a gray area. I mean, if you really look at this vision around being able to meet consumers where they are, retailers or one obvious area, business to business, and wholesalers are too. So we've kind of believed in this vision. We need to unify everything on the operations side, which includes B2B, right? So we've worked with all of the leading platforms on their B2B functionality to make sure that it works well together. We're, part of the Shopify B2B, update recently, we're one of the ISVs that were selected to announce further support that they did on Shopify B2B. Because at the end of the day, we see the fact that brands need to meet consumers where they are. B2B is a growing area. We know it's bigger than DTC. We all love DTC, but we know B2B is bigger if you look at it from a numbers perspective. And everybody needs things to work together. You need Shopify B2B to work seamlessly with NetSuite. You need the orders to flow. You need there to be a consistent view of a single pool, because otherwise you don't want to sell from multiple pools because you have all the inventory sitting around. So the short answer is we are big believers in this unification and B2B being a critical part of what needs to be unified and pulled together.
Lovely. I want to pivot to a story now, because I always get motivated. I know my listeners do too. They like to hear a story of a brand saying, here's what my life was like before I learned that Pipe17 might be a great solution for me. I implemented it. And then here's what my life is like now. And so I know you have lots of different case studies and things and resources on your website, but is there any of note that you can kind of talk about publicly?
Yeah, I mean, look, we have many, many, many brands and customers, and we could spend like 10 years documenting all of them on our website. It will still not be done.
A lot.
There's a lot. So I think there are some common themes. I mean, if I look at some of the customers that use Pipe17, I'll just kind of go across different sectors. Allbirds, everybody knows about them. Yeah, they're the archetype direct-to-consumer company. We're proud to partner with the team there in order to help streamline their operations. Shopify is a big part of their world. I think they're one of the top Shopify brands out there, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. People like Wise Labs, they make amazing home cameras. These guys are based out of based out of Seattle. Mm-hmm. I think they're V1 camera, and they saved a whole bunch of money on operational costs and enabled them. We enabled them to sell on multiple brands, on retailers and Costco, to ship from 5 warehouses, to become the number 1 selling electronics brand on TikTok Shop. So all of this is facilitated to our platform. Companies like Ethereum, if you've heard of Squatty Potty or PewStream or any of these other brands.
Yeah.
They use Pipe17 to run their entire operations, and they actually had an army of developers that they kind of built something equivalent. And then they realized the world could be better. Noble, going back to shoes again and workout clothes, one of Tom Brady's brands. They run their operations on us. NetSuite, Shopify is big, and now TikTok Shop. Mary Ruth Organics, if you care about your health.
Oh, yeah. Supplements.
We automate thousands of kind of B2B activities, which is transferring items from one warehouse to another warehouse, and then automating replenishment and all these things through Amazon. And then one for all of you to keep note of, Brian Johnson, I'm an avid follower of him. His tagline is like never die, and he's a longevity guru.
Yes.
But all of their stuff, flows through us, and that's one to really keep an eye on. And then thousands of other brands. What we also don't talk about very often is, at the end of the day, everybody needs to optimize their commerce operations and unify the operational systems that they have, which kind of also is true of 3PLs. So UPS is the customer, FedEx is the customer, Ryder is the customer, Radial is the customer, and everybody else is the customer too. They all love Pipe17 because it makes life simple.
Yeah. This is amazing. So thank you for sharing that. I can once again, I have this life of learning mantra, and it's just like, I believed what I knew Pipe17 was all about by doing some research. But now, and even someone as deep into commerce as I am, I've been doing this for 20 years. And like I said, 6.5 in Shopify and my own startup and all that. And it's so interesting that I, the host of the show, didn't realize that this sort of technology even exists and just how powerful it actually is. And once again, I'm not trying to, toot your horn here, but it's a reality that, you really are solving a lot of really interesting challenges for a lot of growing and scaling businesses. Kudos to having you on today, because I think we're really learning a lot together about what you offer. And it's just because people just don't know what they don't know. So it's amazing.
Completely.
So, one other question about the ERP, because this is a big, I think probably the largest connecting kind of comment and question that I had was at Shopify. They felt that some parts were working great in Shopify, but at some point an ERP sometimes had to get involved if it was for finance reasons or for inventory planning reasons and forecasting and things like that. The CFOs always got involved, and they always said, no. We need to have a source of truth over here in some kind of dedicated system. It's Navision or Sage or NetSuite or whatever. And so my question to you is that let's talk about your approach. Like, is it different or similar, or is it once again, you're just the pipe over there, and then they still have a connected silo where finance people can do what they finance people need to do?
Yeah. So first thing is, to be clear, we're not replacing an ERP. We're not replacing for an ERP. In fact, the opposite, which is if you want to get an ERP, that ERP needs to be connected to the rest of your ecosystem. And you need something. And I would argue Pipe17 is the best solution out there. Don't buy a development tool. Don't buy an integration platform. Get Pipe17 quicker, cheaper, better. So I think from our view is ERP is a required part of the evolution of businesses, because finance is more important. They need to understand things like sales and profitability.
They do.
And how much goods are stuck where and how much inventory they have on their books and all these kind of things.
Right.
And so in our solution, we unify your commerce operations, and ERPs are a big part of that, whether it's Microsoft or NetSuite or SAP or Sin7 or any other. So I think in our world, we see actually that being a really important juncture, which when you pause and you're going to this brand-centric view of the world, the ERP is one of those steps which really kind of gets you there. And in that world, you need some software to help connect and orchestrate not only the order flow, but also the other data flow, and to make sure that your systems of record are truthful, that you have the up-to-date data in Shopify so that your people who use Shopify know exactly what's going on within the systems. I think, broadly speaking, at least, our view is that ERP is required, the integral part of the setup, and that when you move to one is a really good time to look at, having an operational system. Because as we've kind of seen, the finance people live in ERP. The ops people love living in Pipe17.
Ah, I see.
And, that is a great outcome because everybody's happy. Everybody's got consistent data. And we just pull the data from the ERP and Shopify and other places. We're not making anything up. We don't need to be the source of truth, but we enable you to run your business successfully, which it's a simpler solution. It keeps everybody happy. It's quicker to implement and adopt than I think many other solutions out there who purport to orchestrate your back-end operations. Right. And I think it delivers kind of on the vision of unifying everything through connecting and orchestrating the order flow.
Right. Okay, this is really cool. So I got more questions here. I think one question opens up another question, but I think some people are going to have some misconceptions about, you called it order operations, but I think there are some misconceptions about, I understand what you do, but a lot of people are saying, well, I have Shopify already. Okay, yes, I need an ERP. Okay, but how do I connect that? And so it seems like it's almost like these sort of things are on a need to know basis, right? They believe they need it, and then they go and vet a solution, or find an integration partner or a technology partner, and that apparently has this connector thing. Shopify's got some basic things, but it just doesn't do all the fields, and it's not really a source of truth. And so I just want to hear from your experience if there are any misconceptions, and then how Pipe17 is addressing that.
Yeah, I think the big thing is we came up with this term called order operation. And I think you kind of alluded to it, which is really interesting. And most people are like, what is that? Are you a 3PL? So the short answer is
exactly.
we're definitely not a 3PL, right?
No.
We connect to thousands of them, but we're not a 3PL.
Right.
The concept of order operations is simple. It's the realization when people look at the best way to optimize their operations and order flow, they need two things. They need their systems to be connected, and we talked a lot about that, and they need their orders to flow, right? So they need, selling channels and ERPs and 3PLs and various other things. And, more often than not, the larger brands end up thinking, so I have Shopify for my front end, which works great. I need something to kind of manage the complexity of the back end. Maybe I should get an order management system.
Right.
And I think, what I would say is order management systems, at least that I've seen, are way too complicated, costly. They don't connect to anything out of the box, which to me sounds crazy. And most of them don't have any end user tooling, which again, kind of sounds crazy. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of why we came up with the term order operations, because we deliver connectivity and essentially order management in a single platform, but we do it in a different way. It's for those people that are sat on the sidelines all this time. We're not happy with what they're being offered for the back end in terms of an order management system. They went and built stuff by hand. They run their business on spreadsheets. We are here for you, those people who think there is a better way. And there is a better way. It's Pipe17.
Yeah. All right. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. And so, clearly you're a trusted partner in the ecosystem because you understand operationally what a brand actually needs. You start off with Shopify, and then over time, there is a need for operational excellence. And that means having to get, as we talked about, if it's an ERP, whatever the solution is, these pieces need to be added on as a brand continues to expand. My thought to you is that, okay, you solve a lot of those problems today. What does the future look like? I mean, the reason I ask this question is because a lot of brands, when they make a technology choice, they want to understand, yes, you solve a lot of great problems for me and a few others I haven't even thought of yet as I continue to scale. But what does the future look like? And are you, do you have the mindset around forward thinking about, well, what's next and what are we working on next? I'm not asking for your public roadmap, but just like to understand kind of what the future looks like for you guys.
Yeah, look, it's a great question, but I think it kind of, let's talk a little bit about the pillars on which we think about what are we trying to optimize. We're trying to make life easier for operations people by helping deliver this unified commerce operations for them. We want to help operations people be more productive, and over time, by delivering functionality with AI and a teammate, enable them to do their job better. We want to enable brands to seize opportunities. Technology should not be a barrier to you selling. If you want to do a deal with Target, it should not be a barrier. If you want to sell on Walmart, it should not be a barrier. If you want to sell on new marketplaces, it should not be a barrier. We want to enable you to save money. I mean, saving money is an integral part, whether it's on your inventory, so help you optimize that, or whether it's on your people. But specifically, the areas that we are focused on, helping deliver the vision of unified commerce as a whole, and we doing the operations part, and clearly Shopify's they've got the big vision around unified commerce, which we support. Enable brands and retailers to meet consumers where they are. Social is one of them. Retail is another one. B2B, new marketplaces, AI, etc. And then keep pushing to reduce operational complexity and enable companies to run in more efficient ways as they scale their business, and not by hiring tens or hundreds of people as we've seen with some of our customers out there. So it's really around making things easier, making things simpler, making things more consistent and unified so that you can kind of do whatever you like on the business side as technology supports you.
Right. So if I'm clear, so it looks like if you're a small brand listening right now, I'm sure you're recommending, hey, run as much as you can on Shopify with limited apps, but just doing what needs to get done and figure it out. But as you continue to kind of grow your business, I mean, you threw a number of like $5,000 a month, but whatever the number is, the sweet spot is, hey, a good starting point of saying, hey, you've scaled up to this now. Pipe17 is a great opportunity for a brand.
Exactly.
It's interesting that, there's all different people that are listening today from early stage to mid-market to enterprise.
Yeah.
And it's just and it seems that a lot of people in their early stages, we should just maximize Shopify.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, mid to enterprise people, really have, it's perfect timing to have a really good look at your operations and saying what are we doing? And just take in the intentional space to pause for a minute and actually look at how we connect Shopify to these external partners that are necessary. And that's where you fit into that mix.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're big believers in what you said, which is, as much as you can run on the App Store, keep it clean. And when at some stage, you'll know when you introduce a new ERP, when you want to add multiple 3PLs, when you want to sell on new selling channels, when you want to take things internally and have this brand-centric view of the world, you will know that at that stage, you'll need some software to facilitate that, because you might start doing it with spreadsheets. And then that software is going to help. Because whenever I see a spreadsheet, I see opportunity for improvement. So yes, we can very much see eye to eye on that.
Well, this is amazing. So I guess my next step is if people are listening and they've kind of, truly have product market fit, they're really scaling up their business, but they know that there's, we're now through BFCM and people are doing a little bit of a postmortem right now and saying what worked, what didn't work, and how could we improve? First, number one, for the remainder of the holiday season. And then how do we get a really good momentum kind of going into Q1 of next year? And so that's kind of what my thought is now is what do you believe some of the next steps are for those types of merchants that are we had an interesting BFCM, but we really want to have a banger 2025. And we believe that, maybe Pipe17 is that opportunity. So I just throw it back to you. What do you want those merchants to do next?
So first of all, we're happy to help. I mean, one of the things I heard from one of our customers mention something to me the other week at an event we did. It was super interesting. They said, the head of ops there, he said, Pipe17, has great software. And so we saved a lot of money on people and inventory and all these other things. He said, but they also have a great network that they bring to the table in terms of peers and partners that you can meet and get to talk to. So the big thing is here, we're happy to help. So obviously check out the website, pipe17.com. Do listen to the webinar, next Wednesday, if this goes out on AI and commerce, and it's a series. So there'll be one in January, February, March, and April, all these things. So please attend them. We're obviously going to be at NRF. We're doing a dinner with Shopify NetSuite. So, reach out to us, come there, come to our exec dinners we're doing. But we're also happy to hear about your operational challenges. Just book 15 minutes with us and say, I'd love to do an operational audit. And we'll share with you what everybody else is doing. We're happy to help because we see the brand's success as our success. So we'll be very clear with you. At some time, you probably are going to be fine with the approach that you have. But we want you to be successful. So we'll give you the best advice we can to help drive your success and help optimize your operations.
This is amazing. So I'll have all this in the show notes. I guess it's episode 4 you have coming out, this AI and commerce. And I know you mentioned it, but I just want to give another shout out again on it because it's very interesting. You've got some really heavy hitters on here, especially having Farhan on from head of engineering at Shopify, yourself and Spreetail. And gosh, you have a whole gang of people here, Hurst and a few others. So it's interesting. You have a lot of great people. I think the thing was AI. People are really excited about it. They're just not sure how it all fits into their particular unique business. And so I think this is where a lot of, and I can see the schedule here and it looks great. So I'll make sure that's in the show notes. I'm sure there'll be a replay if you miss it, but if not, you can sign up for. We'll try to piggyback all this together into one big press release for this episode and this one with you and Farhan and others. And this has really been massively educational for me. Like I said, it's many times when I have conversations with brands, we talk about, the technology ecosystem at Shopify. And it's so interesting that there's so many different tools from marketing and warehousing and returns and loyalty and warehousing and all the, and then sometimes you sprinkle in, there's this integrator and that platform connector and all that. But the problem is that they're very particular use case kind of connectors. Whereas when you talk about that you're a unified commerce operations platform, that is music to my ears because you understand all of the pieces in the technology ecosystem of how brands need to connect. And as they grow and mature, you're there for them with baked in connectors or custom made ones. But once again, still back to the unified kind of commerce operations. And I think that's amazing.
That is our goal. That is our goal.
Yeah.
And we'd love to work with leading brands out there, and it's a great opportunity to chat together today, and also, love to work with the audience out there.
Yeah, 100%. Well, this has been really, really amazing. Thank you so much. I feel, I always joke on the show, but life of learning is my mantra. And whenever I have a guest, I only do 50 shows a year. You're one of them. And it's like every year I just no, I got to take this all in because there's so much to learn. And I had no idea that your solution exists. And I'm just not sure how we got connected, but I massively appreciate you sharing today. I want to wish you tremendous success, continued success. And, once again, thanks for sharing today.
Thank you so much. Great to be here, and look forward to reconnecting in future.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Have a good afternoon.
Perfect. You too. Take care.
Well, that's it for today's episode. I'd like to thank you personally for being a loyal listener of eCommerce Fastlane. It's my hope that this podcast is offering you a ton of value through growth strategies, tactics, and exclusive insider tips on the best Shopify apps and marketing platforms, all with my personal goal to help you build, manage, grow, and scale a successful and thriving company powered by Shopify. Thanks for investing some time today and listening to the show. I'm so proud and excited that you have a growth mindset and are a constant learner. I truly appreciate you and your entrepreneurial journey. Enjoy the rest of the week and keep thriving with Shopify.